Hello, everybody. Welcome back to High Vibin' It. Thank you for being here, for listening, for subscribing, for reviewing, and just for joining us every week for these super awesome, real, candid, and magical conversations that we love to have with our amazing guests or sometimes without guests. This week, we do have a really awesome guest. Her name is Daniela Arango. I love saying your last name. It's so fun. And she's a spiritual leadership mentor. And today, we're just going to talk about a bunch of different stuff. No topic is too woo-woo or off topic today, and it's going to be a really, really fun conversation where we empower you with tips and spiritual goodies that help you to live your best life. So, Daniela, thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, us too.
So I guess I'll kick it off because I always love to know the origin story of our guests. So if you could, Daniela, please go as much into detail as you'd like. What seems important to know about your spiritual journey, where you started, and kind of how you got here?
Absolutely. So, if we go back to when it comes to my spiritual journey, I feel like we are in a spiritual journey like since we were born. And then, we have like little places or little times in our lives where it just becomes this like boom point in which we wake up so drastically. But I feel like our whole life is pretty much in a spiritual awakening. And what a beautiful thing to know that we have a lifetime of awakening, because I feel like a lot of people that come to work with me, they always have this idea of like, when is my spiritual awakening, or am I going through it, or how does it work, how do I start it? And the thing is that it started the day you were born. So I think that's really important to say, because there's like this somehow when we talk about spiritual awakenings, people are like, oh, I want that. You're on it. You're on a spiritual awakening since you were born. But to say that, like, just to give you a little bit of a background where mine kind of had this huge catapulting, it's I had been in the yoga community for a little bit. I had been kind of dipping my toes into spirituality or into a little bit of this wellness realm. And at the time, I remember this, it was 2017, and I was working in a restaurant. I was one of the hostess in a restaurant. And at the time I was working all the holidays. This was December. And I worked all the holidays, and I found out, or I was able to get a week, I think it was like a week and a half off to go see my family. This was like the holidays were done, so this was January, and I just went for it. I don't know, I had this like idea, because when it comes to like, I feel like we have this life and we see it so limited that at the time for me it was even like, can I even take vacations? Like, is that okay? I feel like the restaurant, my life, everything was deciding how I was living my life. So just to like give you an idea of where my head was at the time, I felt super empowered to be like, okay, I'm taking a week off and I got it together. They gave it to me. I'm going to go and see my family. So I'm in this plane, super empowered, super happy because I made this decision. And I get in the plane and there is a guy sitting next to me, and the plane takes off, and I'm just looking out the window, dreaming and saying, you know what? I feel so free that I was able to ask my boss for a week off and to just kind of come and see my family. How fabulous is this? And I'm in this moment when 20 minutes in the flight, the captain comes on and he says, there has been a technical issue and we're going down. It could have been said more nicely,
A little more eloquently.
Yeah, 100%. But I guess he got the point across. And when you hear that, of course you go into shock and you're like, did I just hear that right? So then I looked around and I look at this guy sitting next to me, and we're both looking at each other in complete awe of, what? And then all of a sudden this guy and I just nod like, yeah, we probably have 10 minutes to live. And in that moment, I looked at the window and I see how rapidly we're descending. I mean, this was instant. So I could feel the pressure, the air pressure down my feet. Like, yeah, a confirmation, it's happening.
Was it like a
And
nosedive or was it like this, like a flat descend?
Yeah, what happens is
I
like
don't know why
it
I need to be
tilted.
in this experience right now. Like, I need to feel
Please
this.
do. So you tilt down, like the I
The
guess where
nose
the
tilts
pilot
down.
is, the nose tilts down, and you start to descend really rapidly. So first of all, what happens is like it's not like a belly down. You tilt and then you go. But when you start to go so fast, it's as if they're like let go of the brakes or something. So it goes really, really fast. So, and I'm in the window, okay? And I'm just looking at this, feeling the pressure. People are freaking out. And then the flight attendants, you look at the flight attendants and you're like, are we for real? And then they're just like, they're half panic faces, which is also not professional at
That's what I'm
all.
gonna. Okay, so you always have to look to the stewardess to see how she's reacting. Like, I feel like everybody just knows this. Like, let me look at the person who's supposed to be in charge and see how they're acting, right? And if they're panicking, oh my goodness. Okay,
You
so
look at
where
their
was the flight to
faces.
and from? It was
It
from
was
where?
I was living in LA at the time,
Okay.
and I was going to North Carolina.
So this wasn't even like a small,
No,
this is a big plane, probably a big airline, something that you would never expect a pilot to be like, we're going down. What?
oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Keep going. I can't get enough of this story. Keep going.
What I got to know though is that this happens a lot, which probably I'm sorry for the listeners who are listening to this.
And maybe like
I'm sorry
already
for
afraid of
ruining.
flying. Like I'm already afraid, and now you're saying this is common. I'm never getting on a plane.
It is more common than we think it is, and I'll tell you a little bit of the end of the story how I was like so mad that it was not on the news. I was like, how am I not on the news? But apparently it doesn't get to the news because when it happens they cover it. So anyway, I'm there and we're going down and I see the flight attendants, and the thing is you see that they're freaking out because they're like their face is like no emotion. They're just like almost pale and there's just no emotion on their face, and then you're like, okay, you are scared for sure. So the thing about this is I looked back at this guy and we just continued to nod. So I just look in front of me to the seat that I have in front of me, like the back of the seat, and I was like, okay. And you kind of, what happens is that you go into your own bubble. Like after you see the panic, whatever, and then there's like, you go into your own bubble. You're like, okay, I'm in shock. But then after shock, you're like, I have 8 minutes to live, probably 7. So then you start to go, and I just started to play my life. I was 25 at the time. I was living in LA. I had this restaurant job that I continued to say was not my end game, but I was there for 4 years. I barely was going all the way into the yoga. So I was like dipping my toes into some of the trainings, but not really daring to teach. I mean, I had made some bold decisions, but not really. I mean, this was my bold decision to get on this plane to go see my family. Like, how big is that anyway? Um, so I was playing it really small, and I just knew. I was like, what was I doing? What was I thinking? But then afterwards, you come into like after you play that out and you have this regret, you come into acceptance and you say, all right, 5 minutes to go. So then after that, I remember this peace of this love, like the love that everybody taught, this oneness love of unconditional. It doesn't matter what you did, it doesn't matter who, like it doesn't like you, it doesn't matter. You did your best, you're okay, you're probably gonna have another opportunity in another life. Like, it's okay. But there was this beautiful acceptance of like, you know what, we don't need anything really more than the experience of life. So this oneness, and I saw like every single soul in that plane, in that moment of acceptance, like everybody's like aura, it started to like lift off their seat. And I was like, we are one soul in this huge plane with over 100 people in it. It was so beautiful that I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. And I'm telling you, all of this happened. I mean, we were on the ground in less than 10 minutes, probably. So all happened, and it feels like eternity, but you are just like going so fast. So in this moment where you have this acceptance and this internal peace, I made a promise. And I said, okay, I'm going to make this promise to myself and to the universe. And to get to that promise, the thing about that promise is like, your listeners probably don't know who I am, but since that plane, I am a spiritual leadership mentor. I have created a 6-figure business. I have created containers for women to become all that they're meant to be. I daily wake up to empower women and to be the mirror of the people and what they're forgotten. And I live in Sweden, as I was telling you guys before we started, with the love of my life, who I met in LA, and then I moved here. And I have a life right now that sometimes to me, it's like, wow, what a blessing. And I've created all of this, but because at that time, if you would have told me this was going to be my life in 4 years, I would not have been able to look to see it, even to have that kind of vision. Because like I told you at the time, I was settling for a job that I didn't like. I was expecting for everybody to fix my problems. I was hoping that my family would somehow gift me to do some of the stuff that I wanted to do. I was waiting to have approval from somebody that was good enough so I could finally start teaching. I was just pushing all this voice that continued to tell me, do more, be more, ask more, just down. The problem is like from the outside, everybody looks at us, or even looked at me, and I'm a very positive, super spontaneous person. So from the outside, it looked like I was okay. It looked like, she has a pretty good life and she's happy. But from the inside, you know that you're like kind of like muting your soul. And that kind of crushes it a little bit more every day. So I knew that I was meant for more. And at the time I was in that window, I was like, wow, I did knew that I was meant for more. So that's when I was in this emergency landing saying, okay, this is the promise that I was going to make, that I'm going to make for myself, because I don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 minutes. We can explode. Nobody was saying anything. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 minutes. So the promise is, I have a calling. I know we're more than what we think we are. I know I can, and I will. And so in that moment, I closed my eyes. And the only thing that was said was, we're about to land. But what does that mean? We're about to explode? Were we about to, like, what does that mean? And the only thing you just tied up your seatbelt, you close your eyes, and you're like, I surrender. We landed. I'm in shock. I don't know what's going on. The moment we landed, they're like, we got to get out of the plane as fast as possible. We got to evacuate the plane. Craziness. People are, I think everybody's like not even freaking out. You're just in shock. Getting out of the plane as fast as possible. So the whole idea is like, I've made it. I'm here. It was a horrible experience. I got to know that it happens more often than I thought it did, or that I hope that it does. And after that plane, I went for it. I took messy, inspired action. I had no idea where to begin, what to do. But the thing is when you say I'm in, the things appear. Like the yoga trainings, the shamans, the healers, the trips, the opportunities, the containers, the trainings, everything just started to appear in front of me. And it was up to me whether I said yes or no.
Yeah.
So I think what happens sometimes is like, I hope that it doesn't take people a near-death experience to say, hey, just say yes. Just and do your thing.
Yeah. It's one thing that came up that I really want to say is like, it's amazing how many times a near-death experience is actually a rebirth experience, and which it sounds like it was for you. And it brings me back to my own rebirth experience when I didn't almost die, but I had a baby and I was like, what the heck am I doing with my life?
Yeah.
I was set to be married, but I wasn't loving my job. I wasn't, I was kind of half in, half out. I was living half in, half out. I was living just okay. And so I really had to be like, what do I want to do? And again, had no idea what to do. But once you decide, it's almost like once you decide, the universe is like, all right, it's go time. Like, let's show her what's possible. And I think that's so beautiful.
The thing. I feel like the universe is like, you've got to take the step first.
Yeah.
Like, we'll follow you, we're backing you up, we're with you since the moment you're born. But if you don't take the step first, it's like, I don't know why this is coming, this analogy, but it's like when you have an addiction problem and you need to go, you know, to an AAA or something meeting, they won't take you until you say, I'm here.
Yeah.
And is it literally how it works? Like, the universe won't, it's so much that it can do until you take your own first step.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love it.
Dang, I'm just processing this story.
Where did you
I fly a
land?
lot.
I have to know.
fly
Where
all the
did you
time.
land?
Yeah, how did you guys land?
So we landed in the middle of nowhere in the smallest airport that is not meant for commercial flights. So the smallest little thing in the middle of nowhere, I don't even know what the name of it. And you know what the thing is? We're out. And of course, there's nurses, there's people, you know, because a lot of people were having panic attacks and anxiety attacks and, you know, all these things. So everybody's getting checked with the nurses and everything. And the thing is that they're like, oh, by the way, you're going to be here for a little while until we send another plane to pick you up. I'm like, I can't believe I'm getting on another plane. It's like, I can't believe this is happening. So I have a cousin of mine that he's a pilot. So the first call was him. I was like, hey, this just happened. Is this okay? Am I okay? What's going on? And then he was saying, you know, it happens a lot sometimes. Like, it's more normal than people think. And of course, the airlines don't like to be, you know, kind of a common thing. So it usually doesn't make the media or anything like that. And he's like, you know, it's like, maybe we don't know what kind of technical error could have gone wrong. And the thing is, like, the pilots don't say much because they probably don't even know what's really happening. Like, they don't know if, like, you know, most of the times they can't really give too much information because they're trying to figure out how to land this thing. So anyway.
Oof. You thought you were going to die.
Oh, literally. Literally. Yep.
Oh my goodness. And let's say in the best scenario, okay, you were never actually in danger and he knew exactly what he was doing. But who cares? Because everyone on that plane had that belief that, like, my time is up. And it just because of, you know, he could have said one extra sentence to put everyone at ease. But the fact that, like, you thought you were going to die makes it true and makes it real and makes it that much more, like, impactful for you, like, to figure this stuff out. And you did a hell of a job, girl.
Thank you. I think that's the thing is, like, I landed, I was calling my cousin, and then I was calling my family who we were going to reunite. They picked me up at the airport. And the thing is, like, nobody really gets it. I'm like, you don't understand. You don't understand. Like, I was just reborn. Like, they just give me my life back. And I don't even know, like, I don't even know what's going on. So the thing is, though, is that it is a very traumatic experience. So that happened in January, and I found myself in Bali for 3 months in the summer. And I was in a intensive advanced yoga teacher training. And in that yoga teacher training, I think I've talked about this in public. We had, one of the things that we were going through was that we needed to do, we were guided through a near death, or a death meditation. I don't know if you guys heard about that.
Mm-hmm.
So in this death meditation, it was such a weird moment because for everybody, you know, people are crying, people are like, whoa, you know, having these experiences. And I'm there, like, numbed. I'm like, I know exactly what it feels. And I know when it feels, when it's real. And, like, you guys have no idea. I was actually like mad about the whole idea, and I was numbed. And I was like, I've been through this. I don't want to talk about it. Like, you have no idea what I went through. Nobody understands. And I don't even want to say. So I didn't share my story for the longest because I was like, nobody's going to get it.
Yeah.
But then after that training, I remember talking to my teacher, and he was telling me feedback about my yoga classes. And after the near-death experience, we had talked, and I told him, well, it didn't do anything for me because I know what it is, and it's worse than this. So I don't, you know, I'm not interested. And then I remember that I had this practice where I needed to teach to them so they can review my teachings. And in our conversation, he was saying, you know, you still think that you're about to die. And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, yes, you do, honey, because you're going really, really, really fast. And you think that you have no time for anything because you've got to make it. So I think at that point, I realized that I was just, like, thinking that I was still going to die.
Well, and I think
And
because it was so unexpected in that moment too, like it could happen anytime. Like I
yes.
could go anytime. And it really hits home that like our time is limited. And maybe in your mind, you just kind of, you just went hard because our
But I
time's
think
not
this is,
guaranteed.
no, and the thing is, I think there has to be a balance between like your time is precious, but also you don't need to like burn yourself
Right.
out just because what you do get to do, and this is what I understood after the yoga training, is every minute is precious, but not in a forced this empowered masculine way, but in a more of like, wow, thank you, this is beautiful, let me do the best that I can every single moment in love.
Yeah, I think it's so uh difficult in moments to find that balance, but so important, because
Mhm.
especially a lot of sensitive people who have anxiety, which I'm sure a lot of people listening to this do, they're always like, oh my god, I don't have enough time, I'm running out of time, I'm trying to do the best with the time that I have, like I don't know how long I'm going to be here, like I only have this one shot, like I got to get it right, and there's all this pressure, and they're just speeding through life. But um
Yeah.
something that really helps me is to just shift my perspective to like my eternal soul perspective, and be like, well, from this perspective, all I have is time. That's
Yeah.
all there is, just time. I'm gonna have time in this lifetime, probably another one, probably some time where I'm not in a body. Like all I have is time. So how do I want to spend it in ways that are pleasurable and empowering and juicy for me? So yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because it's a
Yeah.
struggle.
Like, what if we just take time away?
Yeah,
Yeah.
then it's
Then we're
nothing.
just being. Because I think so the thing about my story, it's, again, I don't want to like rush you and push you into doing anything. What I do want to do is that we numb ourselves, and we're like, as Lindsay was saying, one foot in, one foot out, and we're just kind of surviving, just
Mm.
doing our thing. So the thing is like, this is precious, and this is your time, and if you're expecting for things to move, for things to change, if you're the victim of like all of this, and this all this is happening to you, the awakening in the moral of the story really is this is your life, do what you want, and whatever that looks like for you, the universe is going to help you when you move and as you move.
It's happening
But
for
wake
you.
up.
Yeah. Wake up.
Yeah.
Wake
And
up.
if you don't know what you want to do, like you at least know a direction or a
Yeah.
feeling or what you don't
Mhm.
want. You know, there's always nuggets and tidbits, and the more life experience you have, the more clarity you gain. But if you can just decide something as simple as, okay, I want to be of service. That could look like being a nurse. That could look like being a mom. That could look like volunteering. That could look like a career. That could look like one area of your life where you do a certain activity.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no rules or boundaries or regulations here. And what I always try to teach too to people is like, it's your life. Like you don't have to live it bound to the constraints of what society says. Oh, this is
Yeah.
the road of success, or this is how we do it, or this is how it's been done forever, or this is your family lineage. Like, do what you want. And if there's stuff in the way that's stopping you from doing what you want, those are opportunities for you to do maybe more healing, a little more clarity work, like more boundaries, more preferences. I mean, there's lots of different ways to navigate stuck points, but it's like your job is only to decide a direction, and from there, like you'll be supported.
I have something to say about like the idea of being stuck, and
Yeah.
this idea of like, I don't know where to go and I don't know what to do. The thing is, we do know.
Yes, girl.
We do
I do know.
know, but we are scared,
Mm.
right? And we're like, what if it doesn't work out? Or we do know, but like, what would people gonna say? Like, we're just comfortable, and we don't want to come out of our comfort zone, because what if it doesn't work? What if we look like an idiot? What
Yeah.
if we look silly? What if it, all these things? But what I do want to say on that is, you do know something
Mm-hmm.
as small as it looks like. You do know things, like something that sparks any joy in your physical
Yes.
body. And after my experience, when I said I started to work with these healers and I started to go through I had no idea what my next step was. I just said yes. And then after I started doing that, is when I started to, and maybe some of you who are listening also have experienced this before, I started to become more conscious of energies. I started to wake up to the idea that like, I may have some like psychic abilities because I'm like understanding how people work and like mirroring each other's like emotions, and starting to tap into imagery and like intuition and all this like magical stuff that I hadn't allowed myself. I knew from the very beginning because when I was a kid, I had an aunt, well, I do have an aunt that is a medium, and I loved talking to her, and I loved all the magical, crazy realm, but I blocked it because of what society said. I blocked it because of what my family thought of her. I blocked it because I didn't want to be seen as crazy. So the thing is, we do know. We're just, it's easier to say I'm stuck. It's really, really easy to
And
say.
so, yes. And that also, again, reminds me of when I was thinking about what I wanted to do. The first question I asked, what do I like? What, what inspires me? What makes me feel happy? And the first thing that came up, I'm completely serious. The first thing that came up was like, well, I've always wanted to do hypnotherapy and past life regressions and spiritual stuff and like subconscious. And immediately almost my brain went, wait a minute though, that's not safe. Hold on. You got to do something safe. You need to know where your money's coming from. That's for other people. I literally in my head said, that's for other people to do. And I go, for the first time I pushed back a little and I was like, but wait, why can't you give me a better reason? Because everyone who's ever been good at anything had to ask the same questions and had to figure out what made them happy. And so I 100% agree with you and Kelsey, because Kelsey said almost the same thing, where like you will find breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs are what makes you happy, what inspires you, what makes you feel genuinely, authentically you. We came here with it. Okay. So just explore. And it's really fun exploring that. It's really fun to figure that out if you allow it, So it's really funny. If I can do it, you guys can do it. If Daniela can do it, you can do it. Just ask the questions. We always say that. Ask more questions.
It's fun, and it's easier when you take the pressure off. Like,
Yeah.
I need to know my purpose. Like, what's my next step? Like, pressure. Like, rushing and pressure is only going to keep you, I feel like, stuck longer, because you're just introducing unnecessary resistance into the mix.
Yeah.
And you're doing that because parts of you are trying to motivate you to figure it out faster, but it just doesn't work. Like, it just does not work.
How about I get to?
Right. Like, this is an opportunity for play. You get to taste these different avenues. You get to go down different timelines in your mind to be like, ooh, that feels good, or that doesn't, or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is really like, you have endless opportunities to recreate yourself and recreate your life.
Thank you for that too, because I think a lot of us get stuck in like, once I figure it out, that's it, right? You get to change your mind. You get to decide if you loved it one day and then the next day you don't. It's okay to do that, and you get to do that. I think all three of us, and hopefully some listeners, would be completely fine if tomorrow I found a new passion that I loved. I would be great exploring that and knowing that I could change my mind and knowing that it will all work out because I'm doing the very, very minimum, which is following my joy. And that's really all the universe wants. I mean, that's just my view, but
yeah. And you can find so much relief in the thought of, I can always change my mind.
Yeah.
I can always switch directions. That's so empowering, because that's true. And I think why we get stuck in that mentality of like, I got to pick the one thing and then ride it out the rest of my life is kind of like that. I feel like it's instilled from like middle school, like high school, college time, where they're like, okay, what are you going to study? And that's going to be like your career forever and ever. Like, I didn't even go to college. Like,
right?
You definitely don't need to live a super awesome, juicy, fabulous, successful life. You just have to follow what feels good and work through the fear of doing different stuff.
I ask my kids what they want to be when they grow up. I swear to you, they say 5 different things. And I'm like, you know what? You do those 5 things. You would be great at all 5 of those things. He wants to be a YouTuber and a trash man. You go, you do it. Live your life.
Trash man. That's cute.
They love the garbage man. I don't know why.
That.
I think all little boys just love the garbage. They love the truck. They love when it picks up. I don't know. I don't get it, but they want to be garbage men.
I think at that point, as you guys are saying, like once you are following those breadcrumbs,
Mhm.
that's when I think we should disconnect from time. That's when I
Yes.
think time, it's like, get it out of the equation. Get it out of the equation and know that as long as you're firing you're following your breadcrumbs, you're good. Like disconnect from times, disconnect when things need to happen, why they need to happen. Just do it, because then it's going to be a life well lived. It's going to be a
Yeah.
life that is reflecting who you truly want to become and remember who you are, because it's a remembering. It's we're walking into this spiritual awakening that is our whole life. Our whole life is the spiritual awakening. Our whole life, it's remembering what we already are. But if we lived every single day of those lives in that purpose, that's already the purpose, and that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
disconnect from time. I think that's when that should be in place.
Yes, I love that. I really, really like that. And there's this Abraham Hicks story that, they talk about going on a hike or like going on a sightseeing tour. Like you're not during the tour, you're not constantly like, okay, is it over? Okay, am I done? Is this like focused on the destination of the end? You are enjoying the sights. You're literally like taking the tour. And I think that's what we come here for. We don't come here for the end. We don't come here for the last page of the book. You know what I mean? We're the book. Enjoy every single page. And I love that if you disconnect from the concept of like a deadline or a finish line or a time limit of some kind, it can make it that much more, the journey that much more enjoyable, that's the whole point. What are we here for if not that?
Absolutely agree.
Hey there, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to watch the extended version where you get the full podcast episode in a video format, just go to patreon.com/highvibe. The link is in the description. That's where you can become a supporter of the show, listen to all the episodes via video format, and each week you get extended versions of the show, meaning you get to see the pregame behind the scenes, and also you get an extended interview with whoever we're guesting, or if it's me and Lindsay, we usually pull cards for you guys, fun stuff like that. So go check it out. There's lots of cool goodies, including a free copy of my book, a free audio hypnosis from Lindsay. She's a hypnotherapist. And yeah, we just want to give you all the goods, all the content. So head over to patreon.com/highvibe to become a Patreon.
Or if you'd rather listen to the rest of this episode, head over to highvibinit.com where you'll see all the links to everywhere that it's getting streamed. Click your favorite one and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.